Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is Foxworth Friday. Dominique Foxworth, what's going on?
Man, just happy to be back.
Yeah, let me tell you something, man. Naming something after a person because of its alliteration make it real hard to figure out what to do when that dog ain't here no more. I don't know what to call it with Spencer here. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, dang, I got to come up with something. I guess I could have called it Fly Days with Dragonfly Jones last week, but I ain't think of that yet.
That would have worked. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the Bomani. It's the right time with Bomani Jones. So people are here for Bomani Jones. I don't think. I mean, I listen to Foxworth Friday when Foxworth not on. I personally like it better. Like, hey, this is interesting. This guy thought something I didn't think. I like that.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. I had not quite thought about, but I am glad to have you back. We got football to talk about. We were just talking before we came on. Be sure to check out. I keep forgetting what is it actually called? The Aaron Hernandez show.
Yeah, American Sports Story. Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, okay. So it is the Aaron Hernandez show. Yeah, I feel a lot better. I see all the
I had to relearn what to call it because we were calling it Gladiator as we were making it because that was some of the source material that we used. So like I was shocked too. It's like, oh, it's not called Gladiator anymore. Okay, cool.
Yeah, dog. Like I just realized I did not know the name of the show. I know I had just been watching it. I've been seeing that like blue and green billboard all over the city on taxi cabs going into the subway. You know what I'm saying? They try to get some people. I just watched episode 4. The Dominique Foxworth episode is episode 5, but check them all out on FX. It comes on Tuesday nights. You can also get it on the Hulu. I know I check it out on the Hulu when I watch it. Like, how's it been for you to like actually see it come together, like with your eyes?
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's funny because I want it to be successful and I want to be attached to it, but it don't need to be that successful and I don't need to be that attached to it because I still work here. Like all the rest of you writers who are with and actors, like y'all not associated with the NFL. I saw Cam Newton complain about his depiction, which is a fair complaint. It's a fair complaint. But,
you know I can't complain because y'all made him a herb. Y'all got Cam in there looking like a herb.
I am not involved in casting Mr. Cameron Jarrell Newton. I'm not involved in that at all. And yeah, no, it's funny because the point is an interesting challenge where you're trying to make a point or get some themes across, but sometimes because these are other people and other entities that we already have attachment to, it can get distracting because the point of the Cam Newton scene has nothing to do with Cam Newton. The point of the scene is like Florida made way for the people that were providing value for him. No matter how talented you are, they didn't need Cam at that moment. But Aaron, they needed at that moment, and he was doing wild shit. And they was like, all right, let's go ahead and take care of that. So you telling me we can have shootings in bars and those players can show back up, but somebody has some laptop situation and he got to go? Nah.
I ain't gonna lie. I just thought y'all wanted to get Cam Newton in there. Like once you spelled it out a little more, I'm like, oh yes, there was that was story advancement. They got my man throwing that laptop out the window. They had to put it in a different year. They had a lot going on in order to make that work. Them Pouncey boys, honestly, they so out there. They may love how they look in this movie.
Yeah, the thing about the episode 2, I know Legal had a bunch of issues with it, and you can feel when you watch that. So bear with us through that episode that there was a lot of other stuff in that particular episode that the legal department was like, so the stuff that made it in was the stuff that legal department was like, yeah, we can't get sued over that. But there was a lot of stuff that I think we filmed and had in there and made the story flow a little bit more smoothly. And they was like, nah, you putting us at risk, which I guess I look back on it and think I appreciate it, but when I'm watching episode 2, I'm like, man, it was so much better when all the
see that's the thing. That's the battle. Like that's what I learned with game theory. Because to me, I'm all about not getting sued, right? Mm-hmm. But on these shows, what winds up happening is there is a lawyer, and I can't tell if this is a cool job to have as a lawyer or like a job you didn't want as a lawyer, but every time when we would shoot game theory, after we had the tape, we had everything done, and they're in there doing the edit. There is a lawyer standing against the wall, making sure there is nothing there that you can get sued for. Every draft of every script You are sending this into legal also, and legal is telling you what you can and cannot say. Because if it is at all possible that somebody can sue you, it's coming out, right? And so with a show like this one, oh man, I bet legal was so glad to get y'all off their backs.
We was increasing their workload dramatically because there's so many people who are depicted in ways that are unflattering. But yeah, so you said you wanted to get people in the show. We had the opposite experience in writing. It was like, man, is there a way that we can get this point across without including more people? Or like, does it feel weird if we don't acknowledge that this person is here? Because when it's general random guy doing unusual thing, all right, we're fine. But then when it's like it's Tim Tebow, then we had it, you know what I mean? So like we had the opposite experience where we weren't trying to get people into the show.
Oh, that I had a feeling in episode 2 when for whatever reason y'all had that dude with his tool out. I noticed that it was made into an anonymous person. There was no aspersion or nothing direct about whose meat was out there swinging in the locker room at that point. That was not going to be put on anybody's name. I was like, I bet that was a legal decision.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know what, maybe they wouldn't want to be doing the behavior, but most people might want to be associated with the structure, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah.
The story behind that is an interesting one too, where they went through a number of different prosthetics and ended up going with an adult actor. It's a whole long saga that I probably should tell you some other time.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say, I watched that as that happened, and knowing enough now about how this works, I was like, it was somebody's job to get the right slab of meat to put out there in there. Like somebody was like, no, not that one. I imagine there was one that went a little bit too far, and they was like, no, we got to bring that back. And that was either the best or worst day at work that somebody on that staff had.
Yeah, the showrunner, I had we did like a panel last week, and so I had drinks with the showrunner and the star of the show and a few of the writers and some other people afterwards, and the showrunner was telling the story of how he got an email with resumes, and so they decided to go with an adult film actor, and so he got an email with resumes, and it was something that I didn't know existed. Yeah,
I assumed that was stage meet. Like I assumed that. But I didn't think that you guys actually went out there and got a person.
So I think it was we paid for some stage meat, and we also had an actor. I'm not sure. I don't remember what they actually ended up deciding on. I think that's probably Stu's story to tell. It's a hilarious story at that, but yeah.
Well, let me tell you what dawned on me about that. And like I recognize that I'm speaking from a position of, I guess, what they call that heteronormativity or whatever, male privilege or however it goes. But like when you watch a show and it got an N for nudity, you be like, oh, okay. That's what's up. I know what time it is.
Yeah.
But in this new day and age of television, I feel like we need some parentheses after the end for nudity to provide a little more clarity about what is coming up. Because if you are bracing for one thing, or let's call it two things, and all you get is one, that is not you. I don't think you warned me like you thought you did.
They should put a D in parentheses afterwards, just so you know. Yeah, right. I'm thinking there's not. Yeah. Oh, well, the very first episode, they're in a strip club. So there's really not a whole bunch. There's more like male nudity than there is female nudity.
I'm just saying, when I saw that end for episode 1, it was what I thought it was about to be. When they had that end for episode 2, it's not what I thought it was going to be. That's all I'm saying. It's not what I expected to wind up on the screen. And I mean, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Y'all had a point to make. I don't really know what the point was that you needed to make. And I'll be honest, you could have made the point about the strippers without having them be nude.
Right.
That's a totally fair point.
I think so we definitely could have done, and I'm a lowly writer, so these decisions are beyond me, but we definitely could have done the first scene without putting breasts in it. And I think probably could have found a way to do the other scenes, but because homosexuality is such a part of this show and the like homoerotic nature of sometimes take place in the locker room, like if you were to argue which one was more
That
necessary,
makes sense. That
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
think that the parentheses D is more necessary than the other stuff. But
No,
you
that
could have
makes
done it
sense.
without showing that part, though.
No. I think, well, again, once you say it as such, it makes a little bit more sense. I also have to be honest. I did 2 seasons of P Valley on Stars. Did you watch
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, buddy. I learned a lot about what I had not ever had to think about on television before.
Yeah, but I feel like P Valley, if I remember correctly, they give you a lot of everything.
They give you a lot more on the same sex side than the other side. Like it's hard to make the argument.
Yeah.
It's hard to make the argument on P Valley that is not being done intentionally, and they have the option of doing these things intentionally, right? Like that's a choice, but it definitely felt like somebody had a point to make. But there was one scene on P Valley, and I feel like if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. That truly felt like the longest television sex scene of all time.
Is there, because the point that you were making before, like I know, especially it's probably changed now because of the internet and everyone has access to everything. But there was a time in my life when a good percentage or the likelihood that I was going to watch something would go up dramatically if I thought I was going to see something.
Late 80s, early 90s was the real peak of that,
right?
peak of that content.
I feel like now that can't be the case, right? No one's actually like the access that everyone has to everything. If you tell me that you might see some, unless it's a specific person, like when Halle Berry did, then people are like, all right, well, I mean, I'd like to see that.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's just like for random breasts. It's like, oh, I'm going to tune in.
That's a good question, because I read something once about kind of like the general out-phasing of the sex scene in content. And I hadn't really thought about it, right? But they talked about how that gradually moved that out. But I do think some things happen that can still jump out for whatever reason. Case in point, Lil Mama on Insecure, the bank teller. You remember that? Which, like her scenes became kind of legendary pretty quick.
And I do think that so there's two different things. Like, would you tune into something that's mediocre and bad just because you're going to see something? No, not at this point in my life. Not at this point.
Baywatch couldn't happen again.
Yeah,
right.
At this point, access to stuff. But I do think that there's something to be said, and the phasing out of sex scenes, I'm sure, is for a bunch of more reasons other than just people don't care about it. I will say that there's something to be said for watching, whether it's a love story or action movie or anything, and you get to the intense moments, the like sexual moments, and they cut to the morning. Like, I mean, I think there is something valuable in the well executed. You know what I mean? Like, it lifts the it feels like something more. It's similar to like in this football show, we try to do football scenes where if you just like, hey, Aaron had a touchdown, it's different than you see him running and cutting and scoring.
No, you're right. I think there's absolutely something to that. But that was a change. Like me coming up, your mama tell you gotta like cover your eyes, and you be like, right here, sure, you got it. Like the Cinemax era, you stay up late enough. HBO do things that you ain't even necessarily think about being done on HBO.
I watched a lot of terrible HBO shows just because that one moment in there, they might be something like I remember also like watching Through the Squiggles. It's a low point for a young man. These kids don't know nothing, man. That's my walking uphill both ways. Like you could just sit down and Google it. Like I had to watch squiggly television and time it up.
I remember one day I was in like maybe 10th grade. I think it was 10th grade. It may have been 9th, but either way. The homie Demetrius was at the cafeteria at the lunch table. And he said, so normally channel 29 is ESPN 2. But something had happened and it had gone to Squiggles. But then for like a minute, it would be crystal clear inappropriateness. And he would sit there like I said, we 9th, 10th grade. He would sit there for hours just watching, hoping that it would go clear.
I don't know what 10th graders are like now, but I mean, I'm sure there's probably plenty of articles and studies on how access to all this stuff is warping their brains, because we've talked about it before. I've done a pretty effective job of training my Instagram to not put that stuff in my face all the time. And sometimes it pops up and I look at it for too long and Instagram's like, gotcha. And then they send a bunch of asses at me the next week. It's just asses. And I got to swipe through them fast, send a message to Instagram that I don't need that. But I can't imagine if I was in the 9th grade and Instagram was putting this in front of me all the time and I had access to Google whatever I wanted. Like, it would fuck me all the way up.
That Victoria's Secret catalog don't mean nothing to these youngsters. They like, what are you talking about? That looks like an award show.
I do remember, I remember going to school in middle school and like when I first started thinking like the girls were like really attractive and being like, there was like 1 or 2 girls that was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But they got Instagram. That's who these girls is competing against. I can't imagine going to school and being around like 7th, 8th graders and then looking at my phone and it's just Instagram models all the time. And then the 7th, 8th grade girls are trying to compete with that. Like it's a bad scene out there, Bomani.
Boy,
you don't have kids, so you don't have to
That's
worry
what I was
about
about to
it.
say. Glad I don't have a youth to mold. That sounds like hard work.
It is, brother. It is.
Man, I guess we also got some football going on. We talked a little, speaking of Instagram, I was talking to Mina on Wednesday about Antonio Pierce, and she was like, I don't even know why he's on Instagram. And I was like, I do. I know why he's on Instagram. But I don't, she and I breezed through this fairly quickly, but him liking the post about what to get him out of there is wild.
I tried to, so on Get Up, we were talking about a little bit and they wanted to talk about where he's going. I kept bringing us back, like, but this head football coach is liking posts. And apparently Davante, at least some people got to me why they saw I was harping on the point and said Davante asked for the trade before he liked the post. So like, they text me while I was on set. Like, so to me, and who else was on there with me? Anyway, during the break, whoever else was on there with me was saying, like, this is a new era of coaching. And I'm like, no, this is Antonio Pierce. He was in the league when I was in the league. This is not, he's not Mike McDonald or some 28-year-old kid. Like, communicating with people on through Instagram likes is a real unusual move for not only a football coach, but a football coach who comes off the way Antonio Pierce comes off. It's like, I'm direct. People making business decisions, so will we. And he didn't like subbing people. Or maybe he just didn't know. I just don't get it. I never understand.
Or maybe he thought he was supporting his player.
Oh, fair point.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm just trying, baby. I don't know if that's the actual truth, but like maybe he was supporting his player. Oh, by the way, they're probably going to be 3-2 on Monday. They get to go play Denver.
Denver defense is pretty good.
Yeah, but that Bo Nix situation is problematic. It is. But I mean, I'd say my point being though, the Raiders are better than I expected them to be through this point, and that's not the thing because not Antonio Pierce, Davante Adams is just like, please, I beg of you, get me out of here.
You know what I think at some point this season, I've been doing a lot more like film study and dots analysis. At some point this season, I want to look into the line between the sophisticated offenses and the old school offenses, because that's my biggest problem with the Jets is they run an old school Peyton Manning style offense. It's like, we're going to run a few plays. And the advantage that we're going to gain is because our quarterback is so accurate and our quarterback is going to be able to use cadence to figure out what coverage you are in, and he's going to throw open, which is the reason why Davante Adams could be a perfect fit there, because he has that intellectual, like, I don't know, syncing with Aaron Rodgers to make this easier. But generally, I think you're going to have to get with the times, and Aaron Rodgers don't want to get with the times. He don't want to be a play action guy, a shift in motion under center guy. Like, he ain't feeling none of that.
So we're not putting this on Nate.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I asked that sincerely because Nate easy target.
To me, it feels like if we put it on Nate, that's like yelling at the president's press secretary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, we know you ain't doing this, Nate. Like, we know why you there, Nate. Like you're not there because you're coaching acumen, which I'm not to say that he's a bad coach, but you there because Aaron wants to run the show the way that he wants to show. And that's part of the reason why Aaron couldn't stay in Green Bay was they had a one of these young offensive minds and Matt LaFleur that actually has some innovative ideas and wants to implement them. And Aaron's like, nah, what I'm doing wins MVPs. And so like they both have valid arguments, but he went and got Nate. It was like, we lined it up, we're going to run it.
And now they got to go deal with Minnesota. Like they're gonna be over there tally-hoing, playing over there at 9:00 and 9:30 in the morning Eastern time. But boy, it's a national television game. Like the last time they did it, they had the home game on Thursday night, and they was playing against some bums. Now they playing against what might be the best team in the NFL. As Sam Darnold continues his attempt to trick me, it'll be week 5 into this grand psyop that he's running, trying to fool me into thinking that he is an NFL quarterback. He's getting close. Or either he's trying to fool me and make me think he's an NFL quarterback, or the Justin Jefferson thing is actually trying to fool me into thinking he Randy Moss.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, man, that's the thing that I always come back to when we talk about these quarterbacks who are like good in a system or great in a system, and we know that it's not like them being exceptional, is at some point you're going to have to make a play. You're going to have to make a real tough play at some point. I feel a little better when that play is going to be to Justin Jefferson. Because you think, what was that Buffalo game where Kirk Cousins just threw a ball at 2 Bills and Justin one-handed it between both of them? So, like, yeah, at some point, Sam Darnold is going to have to make a play. That play going to be made a whole lot easier when Justin Jefferson is running the route.
Did you see that throw he made on the right sideline in the end zone where it just looked like he's just like, I'm just going to throw it there as hard as I can? I bet he catch it.
He was right. You talking about the one that he caught one-handed after it bounced off of Justin's chest, the guy's chest, and then, or the guy's back, and then Justin just, yeah. That's so you can stay, and even if they go on to win the Super Bowl, you can stay with your take because the answer is maybe Justin Jefferson is just that good.
Yeah. We got another, like, there's some pretty interesting games on the slate this week. Like Cincinnati, it's basically winner. If they don't win this game against Baltimore, they're cooked, right?
Yeah.
Like if they go to 1-4 at that point, with that much space between them and the Ravens and them and the Steelers, I feel like it's a wrap. And they lost some close games too. Like this didn't have to go the way that it did. Maybe Joe Burrow never being ready for the preseason is a thing.
Yeah, I mean they always start slow. And I guess I don't have to go out on this limb if I don't want to, but I think they're done, man. That defense is going to be a problem. And as soon as they get done, we might have some of those money-related hamstring issues might start popping up, because if I ain't had my money and I was as good as T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, yeah, my hamstring would get real tight too if we plan for no playoffs and no bonus. Yeah.
And look, I think we already talked about this, but Joe Burrow showing up looking like Cody Rhodes. I'm just saying that, like, I went to school with white people, man. When kids show up out of nowhere with a crazy dye job, that's when you send them to the guidance counselor and make sure everything okay at home.
He shaved it and dyed it.
Yeah. Come on, man. Is everybody treating this with the gravity that it deserves? Has anybody, look, Joe Burrow all cocky and everything else. Hey, sometimes your strong friend need help too. Has anybody gone and asked Joe Burrow how he is feeling? Because, he's not playing bad, but he ain't playing great.
I was trying to think of the black kid equivalent. Like when we were in school, I definitely remember there was the white kid would come out with the hair or the chopped off hair or something. You're like, oh, okay. You trying to tell us something. Or all of a sudden they go golf out of nowhere. Like, oh.
Begging for help. Crying for help. That's what it is.
You tried to tell him. And then the joke stopped. Then it's like, all right, we done made fun of you enough.
Yeah. Like, hold on, stop before he come back and shoot this motherfucker up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, well, is it like cutting off your eyebrows? Is that what?
Yeah, that's so extreme though. Is because the hair dye is a subtle thing because you see somebody like if you see Joe Burrow for the first time on the street, you're not thinking twice about it. It's subtle because it's like, hey, this is real different from you. I know definitely the guys is if you stop caring about your tennis shoes. If you wear the same ones all year, you don't get a fresh pair for winter. They got creases all in them, and you don't give a damn. You don't participate. Oh, you know what it is? It's when people start roasting you and you don't shoot back. That's it. If you catch them barbs and you just like shrug your shoulders, you don't try to laugh it off. You just like, all right, for real,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah, okay, cool. No. But I mean, who am I to say you're wrong?
Yeah, you're gonna need to go see Miss Williams real quick. Oh no, don't worry about this math test. Yeah, you go ahead and take some time out and go see her.
Yeah, let me talk to you outside. Come on. No, it's okay. Put your arm around a little joke before you even get out the door. It's like, come on. You start feeling that tremble. Like, oh yeah, I know. It's a tough age. It's a tough age.
I'm thinking of a specific young man. He figured it out, but my guy had a rough time.
Wow. On that note, we'll go to advertisements, one of which may be in line with what we were just discussing. The NFL is back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's talk to somebody who uses Prize Picks. Hey, Sean, how's those Prize Picks been coming for you?
Oh, well, Bo, I'm excited. Obviously, the NFL's back, and even though we've lost the Caleb Williams special going on in the month of September, Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, whereas each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select players' projections to 25% to provide even more of a value in your lineups.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Hey, man, we got Buffalo and Houston, which I feel like is a pretty dope game that we're not talking as much about. I've watched some of the Texans, like this at that time of year where I try to bounce and get a little look at as many teams as I can. How's CJ look so far? Have you had a chance to give him a look?
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers don't support it, but I think he looks great. The one game that I watched most in the most detail was probably his worst game was against the Vikings. And there was a difference between watching him versus the Vikings and watching Purdy versus the Vikings. And this is not to compare them as players, but Purdy's probably having a better season right now overall. But in that game, they both had awful numbers and got destroyed. But it's a difference in someone understanding what's happening. And he had the advantage of going in after the 49ers played him. So like I said, he didn't play well, but he seemed calm and comfortable and confident and understood what was happening. So the fact that they couldn't execute it, they didn't have the plays to execute it, might speak to the coordinator more than it does CJ. But young Bobby Slowick got to figure something out. But I think CJ there's no idea that last year was a fluke. There's no idea that there could be a statistical sophomore slump, but there's not a slump in his ability and his play. They do have to get back to running the ball well because that's what all this stuff was predicated on last season, and they can't.
And then Joe Mixon's hurt, right?
Yeah, and I don't know that that's the problem. Like they ran the ball well last year without Joe Mixon. They got Joe Mixon, and yeah, they aren't producing, which makes the job easier for him because then they get all the play action stuff, and he can attack deep downfield, which is what he does best.
And on the other side is the menace. We've had four games so far. We've had 3 menace sightings and some menace flashes in game 4.
Oh, That throw, man. So that throw where he jumping out of bounds. Oh, the menace is here, alive and well. So that Ravens game, I think I'm gonna dive into that on my show, like do dots analysis on the Ravens defense because they did some weird shit, man. They did some shit that I ain't never seen before, and it's a credit to them in their scheming. I don't blame the menace one bit because there's one particular play where they had 3 dudes spying on them. 3 spies. It was like, we got 3 spies in. The Bills thought that the pressure was coming from the left. So the blitz got home with 3 rushers. So the pressure got home with 3 rushers, and they had 3 guys spying in tight man coverage behind them. Like, the menace there was no shot out there. But he is special, man. It's just all the games. This is like an old school Cam Newton, which I guess maybe is appropriate considering the history of that coaching staff and how good Josh Allen is. But this does feel like one of the few situations where the team, if you think of like Madden ratings on 0 to 99, if this team is a 90, you take him off of it, they 72.
Oh, wow.
They're 72. Like, their defense is playing better, but like there's nothing out there that is just like propelling this other than him being particularly special. I don't mean to say that Joe Brady's not doing a good job because he is taking pressure off him. He is doing a good job, but all of this stuff is predicated on how good that quarterback is.
Well, I wonder how McDermott feels about this because in that long series that Tyler Dunn did last year for his Go Long newsletter, it was very critical of McDermott. And I think McDermott quietly coaches for his job every year. And we just don't really talk about it because they stay good enough to where it doesn't come up. But last year, if they had missed the playoffs last year, I feel very confident that McDermott would have lost his job and it would have been justified. But one point that he made in that whole series was McDermott, who was the defensive coordinator in Carolina before he got this job, so he was there while Cam was there, he viewed Cam as the holdup. Like, his thought was how much better they would have been if they did not have to deal with Cam Newton and his haphazard brand of football, which I believe truly makes Sean McDermott the one person who thinks that for that time period, the problem with the Carolina Panthers was Cam Newton. Like, he thinks that 15-1 team is a 16-0 team that wins the Super Bowl if they didn't have Cam Newton, which informs how he might view what we consider to be the coolness of the menace, where he's kind of like, nope, not me.
Yeah, I appreciate. So McDermott is an impressive defensive mind, and what they were able to do last year through all the injuries, and this year through all the injuries, and they just aren't super talented on the field defensively, but they still play really good defense in every game except for this last one against the Ravens. So I give him respect for that. I had never considered the idea that there was anybody on earth that thought that Cam Newton was the problem. Like, Cam Newton had problems in his game. He wasn't perfect, but he was the answer to everything that you had down there. Like, they played good defense. I'll give them credit for that. They did play good defense. And I guess maybe if you have a really good defense and there's any issue on the other side of the ball, you want to blame them because they're like, the rules are set up for this to be an offensive league. So I get that point. But how could you look at that situation and say the guy who is propelling all this is the problem? I hope he doesn't think that now with Josh, because Josh keeping him employed, man. Like, that's Josh keeping y'all all employed. Like, show that man some deference, please.
Josh Allen is the reason why we're here.
Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of situations around the league where you need to understand that. And it's clear that they understand it elsewhere, but I thought they understood it up there, right? It's pretty. He's had to have his mind changed. He doesn't think that way about Josh Allen. If he thought that way about Cam Newton, he don't think that way about Josh Allen now. He knows that Josh Allen is the reason.
And guys, keep in mind, you're talking to 2 guys who thought Josh Allen was going to get everybody fired.
dead ass wrong and happy to switch.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that's the part I'll say I was wrong. Well, definitely. He did not get anybody fired, actually. I thought he was going to get everybody fired. Hey, remember when we thought fairly, by the way? Well, it didn't look this way before Stephon Diggs got there. Well, Stephon Diggs is gone, guys. And it still looks pretty damn good.
That was a nice stepping stone that Stephon provided for him to become the Superman that he has been. But yeah, I think the reason why we thought he's going to get everybody fired because he's so talented that people would say it's not his fault.
Correct.
He just needs the right coach. And I guess that could be why McDermott might have the ego that you're suggesting is because he found the right coach or coaches or situations to prevail. And now he is that dude. And you got to change the way. I guess it's kind of like being a parent, or maybe it's like being an uncle or something. You know what it is? Shit changed around my family when I started getting bread. And nobody had a problem accepting that the hierarchy has shifted. Yes. Maybe McDermott is the old patriarch who still got a problem accepting that little Joshy is the king of the hill right now.
It ain't about you no more, dog. It ain't. Hey, look, Sean McDermott was also the genius that thought that we gonna put Tyrod on the bench for the Peterman.
That was a bad thought.
That, what was it, 5 interceptions by the beginning of the third quarter? Like, I remember he had 4. I got in the car to go to meet my guy Corey at Barclays to watch the Nets and the Warriors. And while I was in the car, that man put up 4 gimmies on a 45-minute ride.
I feel like the Peterman was somewhere, right? He got a job.
He's still
somewhere.
around. He's still around.
He
must be the coolest.
Yeah.
The coolest. Like how Charlie Batch kept that job so long. And I was like, he must be real cool.
Nah, Charlie was great, man. And since that era of football, I still believe all of those quarterbacks was great. Great.
Charlie Batch, Byron Leftwich, all of them.
Outstanding. Impressive.
They were the ones you played against and you knew better?
Loved them. They was great. I got my first 3 interceptions against black quarterbacks back when the league didn't have that many black quarterbacks. I was a problem.
You were the problem. You were the problem.
I know.
They should have called you the crab.
I know. I was in the barrel. Like, hey, somebody get your ass down here.
Where you going?
Oh, man. Yep. My first game was against Byron Leftwich. He threw up a nice lolly to his man from the DMV. Appreciate you.
Nobody looked less like what he was than Byron Leftwich in any way. The black thing was making you think he was fast. He wasn't. But the other part was him being a giant and rearing all the way back to last week made you think he had much more of an arm than he actually did.
Yep, man. And he actually overthrew the receiver because it's my first start. So only rule I had was ain't nobody going to beat me deep. He threw it to me. And Byron... yeah, it wasn't a whole bunch of zip on it, and then my next interception came against Donovan McNabb. I was out here hating. What's that governor name? No, I ain't that bad.
Oh, you ain't what's your website? You got your website?
Hell no.
you weren't going on GeoCities to go check out the most primitive pornography the internet has to offer?
But why you be commenting? What type of person comments?
Yo, that's the thing. He got there and he found his room. Like, he found his crew. He went from lunch table to lunch table his whole life. And he finally found the one that had room for him at nudeafrica.com.
You had to get off these racist takes.
Yo, wow, man.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you're right. Everybody got to find community somewhere, but I can't imagine.
Dude, imagine being his queen, man. Because they Republicans, but they clearly like black people. So who's she hanging with? You know what I'm saying? They done thought this man was a clown for a long time. But now it's this. Like, how she show her face?
I can't imagine. anything in this situation because so much of it doesn't agree with the other parts of it. Like none of it makes sense. And I still can't like when in the process do you start typing the comments? Cause like I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but my guess is when you are going to these particular sites, you're on a mission. So is it before the mission or is it after the mission that you like, man, I gotta let these people know how I feel about this?
Well, so this is my question on that. The leaving of the comment implies something that you did not mention there, which is the desire for engagement.
Yeah.
To leave the comment is not simply that these people need to hear what you think, but you also would like to know what they think. And so to get to that room and then say to yourself, I want to hear from them. Not just I want them to hear me. I want to hear from them. What?
Oh, it's people's opinions I have never sought on any topic.
Yo, and I guarantee you at some point, man, them cats, like any of these other networks, you get to the point where y'all learn each other's real names and he probably done caught up and hung out with them cats. He from Greensboro. Greensboro got a lot of shake joints. So he done probably gone to the car wash and all the other spots around there with some characters.
They are... his whole campaign shut down, right? They done. That's not a thing anymore.
Well, everybody keeps quitting, but he keeps going.
So he's still on the ballot. I guess it's too late to make those changes.
Yeah, it's too late for that. But like, damn near his whole staff quit. Him and Officer Mayor up here in New York. His staff is bailing out.
Yeah, that's your man's. He's your mayor.
Why you got to be my man's?
I mean, he won the primary. That's the thing that gets me with these crazy candidates is like, I get why Eric Adams won the primary.
Yes.
I don't get Robinson like that.
Eric Adams is playing the same New York politic game that everybody has ever played.
Right.
He's just a little reckless.
Yeah, nothing about the Eric Adams experiences surprised me. Like I could see how this man wins the primary and becomes mayor of New York City. And I also could see how this man could allegedly do all the stuff that he is doing. Because it's not completely unheard of the fact that it's sloppy and also probably he done pissed some people off. Like that tends to be the case is how it came to be a national issue.
Yeah, also, like, I don't think that Eric Adams believes that there is no racism or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he thinks that you can beat it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he thinks that you can beat it, but I do think that he thought he could beat it. And that's not to say that whatever consequences he suffers here are a result of racism. What I am saying is they was going to get you if you were the one out here doing this. Like the idea there's never been a mayor of New York hit on no corruption charges, which is crazy. Like when you start looking at the history of mayors of all stripes, it's wild that that's never happened in New York. But you was not going to be the one to get away with it is what I'm telling you, brother. That was not going to happen.
That's interesting because I never considered this until you pointed it out. Like these are things that I've known, but I never thought about. But it's consistent with someone who talks and behaves like him and someone who believes in this particular ideology that like race does exist and racism is a headwind, but I can work my way. I can outwork it.
Yes.
Which then, if you believe that, then you don't believe that there's something on the other side of that. Like, I can work so hard that I will beat the racism to success. Like, I believe that also that could be the case, but there's luck and there's other things. But I also believe that you can never out success your blackness.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
He not treating it like it's Jason, right? Like he's like, woo, I got away. I was glad I ain't got to worry about Jason no more. Yes. Next thing you know, he's right there.
It's like, it reminds me of when like they talked to Lil Wayne during like Black Lives Matter, and he suggested like he had so much money that's not the experience that he had. Like, yeah, Weezy, on the day-to-day life, I imagine your life is tremendous, but never forget you all black. And the world is going to treat you differently in most circumstances. And when you are successful and talented, whatever, it's fine. You may not feel the blackness,
Right.
but it's going to get you.
Well, also, Eric Adams had made the decision. Like, I saw some interview where he said that whenever his time as mayor is done, he was like, they gonna say that bald-headed brother with the earring did it. Like, he's very invested in this idea that he kept it real and got to be the mayor and then kept it even realer. And you could tell he was trying. Like, dog, why are you out here wearing black diamond earrings as the mayor of New York City, right? He is at the clubs, like he's living that whole life. It was a big deal to him to be like, yo, look. He basically acted like Big Meech, right? Like he needed everybody to know that he ran the town. And this is where I say, Jason, right behind you.
Right.
If they wasn't already looking at you, they was gonna be looking at you when you decided to do that, which meant you might not want to be doing what you're doing, but the way he's looking at it is, but what I'm doing is the way things are done here.
Right.
And there's like, I understand why you might not. I see how you reconcile these two ideas, but it's not going to be the way that you do it, brother. I'm just telling you right now.
This is why I told you about that piece that I thought about doing, but I never did, about how cornerback is the blackest position in football. Because It's the same thing. It's like the ball's in the air. Technically, by the rules, we have equal rights to it. But we all know that ain't true. We all know that ain't true. And every cornerback knows that we know the rule book in and out. And we know that y'all can't push off like you do all the time. And we know that we're supposed to be able to have the right to where our body is. And if we get there early, it's inadvertent. As long as we're making play for a ball, we all know that to be true by the letter of the law. But we know when we get out there with our 20 numbers on, that the guys with the teens and the 8s, they actually have more rights than us in practice. And Eric Adams thought that he could be a receiver. No, you was born a cornerback, Eric. You always gonna be a cornerback, Eric. No matter how many touchdowns you score, Eric, you still one of us.
He think he not gonna have to quit that job too. He think no, but did you see this story though about Adams and his relationship with the New York Post, and basically how the New York Post got him into office with the favorability of their coverage?
Oh, geez, I didn't see
like
that.
Like every now and then something happens that makes you understand why it is that somebody thinks that they could get over. Like, case in point, the Italian stallion Mike Tirico. It was some things that happened that he was able to beat and overcome. I might have thought I was a white man too, if I had been able to get past what those things were. You know what I'm saying? And I think for Adams, like, he had the right friends, he had the right people. He thought he was going to be good. Brother, they say they coming with more stuff on him.
He need to just go ahead and slide off, and maybe they take it easy on him.
But let me tell you what else is happening to him too that you don't see that often. We are a forgiving people, okay? Yeah. We let a lot of people come back home when they wind up in these situations and times in trouble. Quite honestly, we let too many people come back home under these circumstances. Eric Adams got up there with all them black people behind him and was ready to do that press conference after that stuff came down. And that brother was there waiting on him to let him know, no, sir, this is not a black thing. You are on your own. This is about you. Leave us out of this. I ain't never seen that happen with somebody that was not viewed by the culture as an outright Uncle Tom. I had never seen that happen to somebody where there was some gray area. They even tried to save Clarence Thomas. And I have heard people say that about him.
Yeah, you're right. People jumped up quick to slam the door on Eric when he was trying to come back in, which is funny because I know generally his positions, but I don't know the one thing that he did that was like, all right, you out. Maybe it's just because we feel used. I mean,
well, he's a cop and he's a defender of stop and frisk.
Right, I get that, but I could go down a list of other people.
That is correct.
We let back in who did worse things than that. That is
fair. But I'm just saying, that's at the top line of the resume. I can see how it is. It is some people, but somebody made the decision. He gonna try it. He gonna try it. Like, I don't know what his interactions have been with these black people on the ground over the years because he's been here forever, right? But also,
it must be worse.
But keep in mind, he don't even really, like, the thing was, does he even live in New York, right? They had, like, the Easy Pass stuff or whatever about him living in New Jersey and everything else. At
That might be
every
it, too.
turn, it had been set up for him to think that he was special.
'Cause normally it's like, we told you it's cold outside, you need to wear a coat. And then they end up coming back home, and we're like, see, come on in here, man. Told you it was cold out there. You still with us. But he came back, and we was like, nope, boom. You stay out there with no coat. It's fine. You go freeze to death, which, like, I'm not opposed to, but I'm surprised because generally that's the idea. It's like, we know that you messed up. We know that you didn't believe us and you turned your back on us. You didn't think you needed us. And now you come on back and it's obvious that you do.
Yes. One thing right fast, by the way, I had one last football thing I wanted to get to as our time is getting short before I forget. Is Justin Fields good now? Because I think you and I have both agreed that he was not good. Is he good now?
Yeah. Based on what we've seen so far, he's been, I mean, the second half, his best game so far was this Colts game, the second half of the Colts game. It hasn't been enough to, like, fully be on complete board, but I think, and what they're asking him to do are things that I didn't think that he could do. And that's like, don't try, I guess this is the Cam Newton episode, like, don't try to be Cam Newton. Just because you have some Cam Newton-like abilities, don't try to be Cam Newton. And I thought that he couldn't turn that off because that was the value, but he seems to have been able to turn that off until you needed it. The question is, will the turnovers and the holding on to the ball too long, will all that stuff come back when they really need him to? It hasn't yet, so I'm encouraged.
Well, we're gonna test this Russell Wilson gimmick really tough here. The good guy always says the right thing because you might be done in this town, homie.
Yeah, they sick of him, man. They sick of him in Pittsburgh, and I don't know where people would want to have him. Like, yeah, the way that people, the way that people talk about him right now is a bad.
He'll just be a backup forever. And the question is whether can he be the good homie that he needs to be? Can he make the Joe Flacco transition, given that he's better than Joe Flacco ever was? Like, can he make that move? Except for that 1 month. Don't want to take that month away from Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it happening, honestly. I don't see it happening. Like, Joe Flacco is kind of like, he's had a hard time, like, getting on the team. And Joe Flacco is kind of like bland. He doesn't make you feel one way or the other. Russell Wilson makes people feel a way, whether he tries to or not. People feel a way about Russell Wilson. I don't imagine that he's going to bounce around from team to team, especially because he doesn't have that, like, reliable backup quarterback appeal where it's just like, all right, he's going to play on time and we're going to be all right. Like, yeah, he's a big liability and he's kind of a personality that people don't particularly appreciate. So I don't see him bouncing around just being a backup around town.
I guess he don't really need the money.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. He don't need the money. He might need the attention, though.
Yeah. And I tell you this, too. How many of these little towns Sierra going to be willing to go to?
Yeah, Pittsburgh is a stretch.
Yeah, that was nice of her.
They live in there? You sure?
Good question.
Sure he not just living there?
Look, where I feel bad for them is they really thought that Denver thing, they was about to become Walmart royalty. Like, they really thought that they was about to make an ascension into a whole nother place. Like, Russell was taking it to the place that he's seen the other cats, like, that play his position had taken it. Now, granted, I don't think Peyton Manning would have got himself to be Walmart royalty if he went over there and played like Russell Wilson did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but at the same time,
they were on track. It was all set up. But you're going to have to cook, Russ, and you did not.
Dang, I forgot about that whole cooking thing.
Let Russ cook was the whole thing.
That was the thing. I completely forgot. But that is Dominique Foxworth. Check him out on the Dominique Foxworth Show, available where all 5 podcasts are given away for free. Also, check out the American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez, Tuesday nights on FX. Episode 5 is written by Dominique Foxworth, and I wanted to talk about it because we were talking about it offline. I saw a little smile creep on Dominique's face in a way that I had never seen before about his own stuff. Dominique outwardly proud of his own work, which never happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It's going to be good. It's a really good episode, so I hope you guys watch it, appreciate it, and any of the stuff that you don't like, somebody else added that. All the good shit, that's me.
Yeah, but Dominique, he was the one that was like, nah, make it bigger. That was not big enough. Make it bigger.
Oh, yeah. Messing around. If we're going to do it. Right?
Now that's a hog. I appreciate you, man. Sean, we got prize picks for the people.
Yeah, while Dominique is proud of his work, I am certainly not proud of some of my picks this week. But we got Sunday football. Let's go Jaden Daniels, 0.5 rush reception touchdowns. He'll go more there. Michael Pittman, who kind of finally woke up last week, 0.5 rush reception touchdowns. I'll take a touchdown there. And Xavier Worthy, no Rashee Rice, 41.5 receiving yards. Seems like a no-brainer. We'll see what happens at the end of Sunday.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. That's Sean Yu handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Also, hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. Nobody wants to hear you complain about your fantasy team, but I want to know who's really doing your fantasy team wrong because you're going to sound sad and happy. Well, not happy. You're going to sounded funny. It'll make me happy. 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.